Every couple of months, Hearthstone releases a new expansion to showcase some new ideas and keeping the game fresh and exciting. But did you know that there was an expansion that they did not release? During the Witchwood expansion, they released a new single player mode called the Monster Hunt, which was basically the dungeon run mode from Kobolds and Catacombs. This patch included a lot of new card files, but according to data miners, there was a bunch of new, never seen before cards. According to Hearthstone top decks, these cards were part of a set called the Slush set. It's also important to note that these cards are not going to be in any future expansions. These are cards that were made and just not released for Hearthstone. Now, it's not confirmed by Blizzard that this was going to be an expansion, but there's so many cards in this that we might as well call this the Slush expansion. A card like 4 mana 5/5 neutral minion, delicious target. Any spell or hero power that can target this must target this. This card is extremely cool, and I would love to see this card in the game. You could use this to protect yourself against a fireball from a mage, or you could use this to stop a shield slam going on a minion that you want to keep alive. A card like Devilsaur Giant, a 50 mana 8/8 minion, cost reduced by the total attack of minions you've summoned this game. I don't think this card is necessarily good, but it's definitely an interesting way of doing giants, as the idea for giants have gotten a little bit stale over the years. There's also the Death Giant, a 20 mana 8/8, cost 1 less for each friendly minion that died this game. Until you realize they have actually made this card with Ursul Giant and Fractured and Alterock Valley. A card I hope they never make is Harbinger Aphotic, a 7 mana 6/4 legendary hunter minion. Death Rattle, your hero power becomes summon a random beast. I think this card would be really infuriating to play against because the variance on the potential beasts just in the standard pool right now would be rather large, and that sounds absolutely horrible to play against. A card I really like is Simulacrum, a 4 mana 2/8 warlock minion. Your hero power damages this minion instead of you. Now, I actually think this card is rather weak. You would need this card to come out a little bit earlier before the first time you want to tap as a warlock, but the idea is super cool. A card I think is actually really good is Time Slip, a 3 mana rogue spell. Put an enemy minion on the top of your opponent's deck. This card is like Sap, 1 mana more expensive, but you deny their next draw from being a completely different card, which could actually help you win the game in different ways. Both are pretty great cards though. This is a really cool card, a 2 mana 2/3 Paladin card, Quest Giver. Battlecry, add a random quest to your hand. Now, considering that most of the quests are pretty bad, if it's just a random quest, this card would not be good, but it's a pretty fun meme card to have in the game. Focus Staff introduces a brand new keyword, Ephemeral, a 2 mana 0/3 weapon, spell damage +1. Now, I looked up what the new keyword could be, but there doesn't seem to be anything related to Hearthstone, but the definition of the word means to last a very short time. So I wonder what it means. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, I'm not even gonna bother trying to pronounce this name, but this Warlock Legendary is actually kind of ironic. A 4 mana 4/4, whenever your hero takes damage on your turn, also deal that amount to the enemy hero. Yeah, this card seems pretty good. I hope they don't print a card like this at all, because I think it would be kind of frustrating, especially if Warlock had a lot of healing. I don't know. This card just seems pretty good. This Paladin card seems pretty good. A 5 mana 6/3 legendary Paladin minion, Maximilian of Northshire. When one of your Silverhand recruits damages a minion, destroy that minion. If this card was actually played every single time there's a Silverhand recruit on the board, it would just become so threatening. I would be so terrified. One card that looks really strong is Lincoln, a 5 mana 5/5 Paladin legendary. Your Divine Shields refresh at the end of your turns. Now, this card's already pretty decent, but if this actually accounts for spells giving minions Divine Shield, then this card actually might be one of the best cards we've seen. Druid got a really interesting one, Lunara, a 4 mana 5/4 Druid minion. Battlecry, destroy your mana crystals. Your future mana crystals will store 2 mana each. I was trying to find a card to compare this to, but I don't think we've ever seen anything like this really in the game. I wonder how powerful it would be. Another crazy card is Crystal Scepter, a 2 mana Paladin spell. Replace your hero power with spend all your mana, summon a minion with that cost. We did have a card like this. Forbidden Healing was spend all your mana, restore twice that much health. So Crystal Scepter isn't a brand new idea, but this card could be extremely powerful in a value game. Thursday the Earthlord, a 9-mana 8/8 neutral minion taunt. If your opponent has 4 or more minions, enemy minions cost 10. Now, this card is probably really bad, but if they didn't have a board when you got to play this, you might straight up win against any board-centric deck, which means this card might have potential. Next, we have Medivh, an 8-mana 4/12 neutral legendary minion. Battlecry, gain the card text of your other minions. I think the biggest issue with this card is that it's just your minions. I think it was every minion. This card actually would have a lot of potential. Now, we did get a Medivh when One Night in Karazhan came out, but it was a completely different effect, and I think the one that they actually released was a lot better. Dakotic was a 10-mana 10/10 neutral legendary death rattle. Discard your hand and draw 10 cards. Now, I think in the current game, this card would be absolute garbage, but back in Classic, this could be the difference of you winning or losing the game. Also, in Savers of Uldum, they printed Octosari, which is not the exact same effect, but it's pretty close. You're basically drawing 10 cards, but not discarding your hand. This card was rarely used. 4-mana Druid spell Rebirth, summon all friendly minions that died this turn. Now, this card can be extremely scary, especially in a Druid class for a spell, because they can cheat out mana with Innervates or Lightning Blooms. It also gives a token variant of Druid a way to trade for the board while still maintaining a huge board. This card can be extremely dangerous. This effect also exists currently on High Inquisitor Whitemane, but the issue with this card is that it costs too much mana for the effect, so unless you have a pretty decent board, this card always feels useless. Next, we have a 2-mana legendary spell for Priest, Epic Loot. Discover a card pack. At least the Trailblazer from Ungoro did roughly the same thing, except for she shuffled an Ungoro pack into your deck. Rather, with Epic Loot, you get any card pack, so knowledge of expansions do matter with this. The most broken card in this video, a 2-mana 2/3 neutral minion, Battlecry. If you have a minion, a weapon, or damage, an opponent has a minion, draw a card. Thank God they didn't put this in the game, because they would have to nerf this card so fast. Burning Knight, a 3-mana 3/3 neutral minion. Battlecry, gain +2/+2 for each frozen minion, then unfreeze them. This card actually has a ton of potential based on what the meta looks like. Currently, with Fractured and Alterac Valley, this would be pretty good against Frost Shaman. King Kulakka, a 7-mana 7/7 beast for warrior. Battlecry, deal 1 damage to all minions in your deck. Now, the only real question I have here is, will this work with Armorsmith? Because if it does, this would be insane. 7-mana 5/5 neutral minion, Mrs. Magical Liapleurodon. Don't ask me if that's the real name. I have no idea. This card has a Battlecry to replace your hero power with cast a random spell. This is basically Yogg-Saron, but in hero power form. A card I would love in this game is Enigma the Sphinx, a 6-mana 6/6 neutral legendary. Whenever a player draws a card, they draw from their opponent's deck. This card could enable some kind of fatigue in the late game against a control mirror match, but I honestly think this card could do so much interesting stuff, like trying to get a really good legendary from your opponent's deck. If you want to see the rest of the cards from this expansion, I'm going to leave both links in the description down below, which you can check out. I appreciate you watching. Make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one.